Hello and welcome to Weekend Investing Daily Bites. Today is 30th of November, end of the month, and we're shooting episode number 143. Today's topic is a bit different. We are going to discuss some of the tweets that I have done in the last couple of days, some which have more depth to be discussed, so that you can take more meaningful inference out of it. Let's take a look at the market first. So the market opened with a very nice up move, and Nifty was up almost 250 or 300 points at one point early in the first hour. And then the US futures kind of broke down, dragging Nifty along with it. And for the rest of the day, the Nifty was sort of, in a zone where it was neither going up, neither going down. And at the end, in the last half an hour, it broke down, possibly due to the large buying that happened earlier in the day. They gave up and sold the purchases back. So in terms of the sectors, all sectors got hit except some real estate, IT, and FMCG. FMCG and IT usually are the defensive sectors where money runs to once the market is falling. So this is basically something that one would anyways expect. Real estate and public sector enterprise, these definitely have some legs as they're showing relative strength versus a lot of other sectors. So I would, in case you're doing stock specific trading or swing trading, etc., one should look at stocks within these sectors. Other than this, metals, commodities, energy stocks, autos, banks, everything was hit pretty badly. If we see the last 1 week, only pharma has gained by 1.2%. Rest, all the sectors have been demolished in a big way, some even 7.5%. The month also is pretty much red all over the place, except for some IT, 1.85%. And the last 3 months has a mixed bag still. The financial year is looking green for everything so far. So the correction continues. We are pretty much following global cues. So it seems that whenever the turn comes, it will have to be a global turn. FIIs continue to sell. Domestic institutions continue to buy. So that is a good thing. And one very unique divergence we saw today was that small caps didn't fall. Small caps were up 2% versus Nifty was down minus 0.4%. So this gives a very good hope that the broader base of the market has stopped correcting. So mid caps and small caps have stopped correcting. Only the large caps are correcting, possibly due to the selling by foreign investors. And in case that reduces or ebbs, we may see some stabilization. In terms of weekend investing small cases, the ones which focus on small caps and mid caps were flying high. So MI35, MI25 were up 3% and 2%. MI50, MI20, MI30, they were all up more than 1%. And some others were sort of flat. So in line with the respective benchmarks. And NNF10 was hit, large caps were hit. So NNF10 was hit, in line again with the benchmark. So let's now go over some of the tweets and try to see what inferences we can make out of it. On Twitter, it is very difficult to explain things in limited characters, and hence this attempt to dive more deeper. So one of the tweets that I had sent today was on IndusInd Bank, a very stock specific tweet, nothing against investors in this bank or any specific stock, just trying to highlight some learnings out of any stock which may be showing such behavior. There is nothing specific about IndusInd Bank that I want to talk about here. So the tweet was that this is not looking like a pretty picture from long-term perspective. Hope this changes. Buy and hold folks have not made anything in 7 years. So people who came in, let me see if I have a So people who came in 2015-16 here, somewhere around 900 rupees level, and the stock actually fell further below. saw the stock going from 900 to 2000, then a drop to 1300, then a rise again to 1800, then a crash to 250, then a rise to 1200 now, and the stock seems to be falling again now. So now whether this is going down or whether it will start to rise up from here, anybody's guess. At least I can't guess that. So the thought was that this is the problem that many investors will face in several stocks now going forward. If the market is going to consolidate, if the market has made some top for some time, stocks will stop going up and they will go sideways or they will go down. So this issue will be there in almost every other stock that you face, that you hold, and you will face this issue, whether to hold it, whether to sell it, whether to buy more. How will you take that call? So the idea behind this is that you need to have a framework of why you bought it and why you're holding it now. So if that framework is clear, maybe it is based on your fundamental approach, that is fine. But how often are you reviewing that? What difference in the the outlook will make you change your mind? And in case the price starts to drop very rapidly and the fundamentals don't seem to change, what will you do then? Will you allow the price to go down and not worry about it? So all this thinking about the what if scenarios you must do now, not when the stock has tanked another 50% down. You must know how you will react in various situations going forward. Only then you will be able to actually pull the trigger if you have to, or add more stocks or whatever may be the plan. Basically the bottom line is that you need to have a plan and you need to think about the what if scenarios coming forward. That was sort of the intent of this tweet. Another tweet that I did was on Zoom, which is listed on the US markets. So Zoom, as we all know, have been a big beneficiary of this work from home culture that started post-COVID. And in March 2020, when COVID was at its peak, the panic was at its peak, Zoom was quoting somewhere around $120, $130. And then post that it went to 587, so almost 4.5 times from where it was during COVID panic. And then from there it has dropped almost 60-70%. So again, the similar type of inference that we want to draw, like we were discussing in the IndusInd case, is how will you make your decision? Zoom is doing very well. Zoom profits are going up. Possibly the outlook is also very good. They are expanding. But the stock price is moving very differently from that. How will you estimate when you want to get out, or you want to add more, you want to hold on, so on and so forth? Let's take a larger chart. So this was where the COVID panic was there, March, April, and then it just went all the way up to 587, whatever was the highest point, and it has been steadily coming down. There was one lift up and then it's down again. So you need to have some sort of a plan that in case you're doing a price action based exit, that maybe I'll follow the average true range ATR, maybe I'll follow some 200-day moving average, maybe I'll follow a 20-week moving average, maybe I'll follow a 20% drop from the top and then exit. Maybe some 3-month low, if it breaches, I will get out. So there's so many sort of very simple parameters that you could use. 50-day moving average, if it crosses below, I'll come out of it. Because usually what happens is that while you've seen this ride up, when it comes here, you are still very confident that it will go back up, and once it makes a lower low, then you have become a bit jittery. Then once this leg starts, you become very confident that it will go up again, and then this move happens, and then this one gives you confidence again that this is going up, and then this happens. So at every point you will feel like that the worst has already behind us and it will move up now, but it is actually going down with every leg, lower low, lower low, lower low, lower low, lower low. So the first lower low is actually here itself. If you were to just follow the Dow theory and get out of lower low basis. So whatever may be the basis, you need to be clear how you're going to play this. So these are like case studies which you can think if that in case you had the stock, how would you have behaved? Because this will help you a lot when you actually will be executing your exit from your existing portfolio. Third tweet was about markets index. So I said markets are playing yo-yo all the time. 1 year back, Nifty was 13,200 and it seemed expensive, at least to me. 1 year back, November 2020, it seemed very expensive that COVID is on full time and market is running hard, and it seemed very expensive. But from 13,200 to 18,600, we saw a very nice move, almost a straight move. Besides this small blip, it went up straight. 2 years back, when market was here before COVID, it seemed very fairly valued. It didn't seem like anything can happen so bad to the markets, but the conditions were created such that from 12,000 it dipped to 7,500. So neither the run to 18,000 was expected, nor the drop to 7,500 was expected. So the expectation game can be quite tricky. You may expect something, it may not happen. It may go the other way. The usual market play is to trap you on the wrong foot, whether it's a stock, whether it's an index. What you're thinking, the market is likely to do the other way, unless you're a really sharp thinker. Most people are not. I certainly cannot predict anything. So the idea here is that watching the index and doing things is not really very conclusive. Like you could see the index dropping, however your stock portfolios may not drop. You may have a selection which are having relatively strong stocks, like we do in momentum investing. A lot of the stocks that we hold are relatively stronger than the rest of the stocks. That's why they are in momentum. So they may not drop, and based on the index, in case you were selling off your portfolio, etc., that would have been a wrong move. So the index can give you very misleading trends for portfolio investing. Another tweet was again in the same line, that don't let the index fool you. So I have taken a specific period from April 16 to the bottom of the COVID candle, March 2020, exactly 4 years. And this run was 11.1% on Nifty. So in these 4 years, Nifty went up 11.1%. Right. If you were to look at this period and say, index is really a bad performer, it's given only 11% in 4 years. Why should I invest in the index, or why should I invest in stocks? This is not worth my time. But in the same period, the strategies that we are running in weekend investing, they gave these kind of returns, from 47% to as high as 190% in the same time period of 4. So while the index didn't do anything, the model portfolios did phenomenally well, thus debunking the usual thought process that if the index is not doing well, then the stock market is not doing well. That's not always the case. So I've chosen this particular period because this is the worst period in this 4 years where I could show you this contrast and say that there can be strategies, whether these strategies or some other strategies that you may have, that strategies can do very well, long only strategies can do very well even when index is not performing. So this is the the reason why I did this tweet. And another sort of, I want to leave you with this idea that, and I'll discuss it tomorrow, that index investing is not foolproof. Index investing has its own pitfalls, and I'll elaborate on that tomorrow. But index investing is not gospel. Index investing cannot ever go wrong. That is not the case. There is a good probability that it will not go wrong, but there is no rule to say that index investing cannot go bad. and we will discuss all that in tomorrow's session. I hope you drew some learning out of these inferences that I was able to draw here. At least there are a lot of learnings for me when I go through all this, and I hope you are doing the same. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video. Bye.